All right, for what I do, my boy Mac Moorfield, I committed to Florida Southern. All right, so real big look. Shout out to my boy Mac for the commitment. I'll put the post up there on the social media handles a little later. But, it was a long time in the making. He worked hard to get to that, get that opportunity. So shout out to my boy Mac for committing to Florida Southern, a great program here in Florida. So just now, let me get back to, what we here to listen to. Besides, obviously, we're going to always talk recruiting, but I want to shift this and dig a little bit deeper into this NIL space, okay? Now, for you guys that are into this sports and understanding, I'm just going to have you understand like what a private equity firm is, okay? This is just my definition. I don't know about a book, okay? But private equity firms are essentially a firm that somebody may lead or be a group of investors that essentially put capital into, a particular company that invests in businesses, okay? And they end up hoping for returns. These businesses got to be stable. They got to be around. They got to be, obviously profitable with margins that will continuously grow. Okay. That's the hints of why investors put their money in to get a great return. Okay. Why am I talking about private equity? Okay. Because I ain't gonna say little, but the money that we put into travel ball fees and parking fees and these, training or coaches or academies that we put capital in for the sake of, helping our kids get better with the, intentions of hopefully getting an opportunity. Like I just talked about my guy over there getting an opportunity to play for Florida Southern. Right. But what you don't understand, the ecosystem around youth sports. All right. Youth sports right now is a $19 billion business. Okay. Again, I'm not just strictly talking about baseball. I'm talking about in general, $19 billion, okay, is being spent, all right, or in this ecosystem of youth sports, okay? And in baseball, all right, a large amount of that is getting into the baseball. That's why you see some of these damn parks that goes around, like these are the cathedrals. These are better than, again, some of the parks that I've been in were better than most minor league parks that I came up playing when back in my professional days, okay? So why am I talking about this? All right, so I got a phone call a few weeks back, right? A random, somebody reached out to me on social media and wanted to talk to me, all right? And we got online, got off on a call, and he was a representative of a private equity firm, right? He calls me and we get on, we're chopping it up, and he just wants to talk about the youth baseball space. He asked me about tournament fees. He asked me about the fees that goes into teams. He asked me, from hotel stays, how long, what's a typical season for 8 to 12-year-olds, from, high school level, what's the price range? Like he had all these, questions that he asked, and he was writing it all down to go back and talk to his private equity firm. I'm assuming that they are considering investing into something when it comes to this youth baseball space. All right. Again, a private equity firm representative calls me and asks me a bunch of questions when it comes to what is going on with this youth baseball space. All right. You already know what's going on at the college level. Yes. Private equity firms are, I don't know, has it been done yet, but they are hovering around college sports. All right. Willing to put their money up, to essentially invest or buy out, college sports. So that's how big this whole youth baseball, youth sports is. Why am I talking about private equity, D? You might be saying that, all right? Why am I saying that? So for you parents that's in it, all right, and we're all in it. I'm in it for a different sport, me personally, I'm always talking from a personal and also from an advisor type, background. But we're all in this, okay? We're all in this ecosystem, all right? I'm coaching, the recruiting, all these services and stuff that's around. Parents are paying for parking fees. They're paying for individual coaches. They're paying for team fees. They're traveling for hotels. They're playing in all these tournament fees. They're paying $6 for water. You know what I'm saying? Like all of this is the big ecosystem that's going on into this big baseball space. All right. And I understand it's tough. You like, man, how do I pay tournament fees, right, for with my team and my organization, and then I still got to pay parking lot fees when I pull up? I get it. I hear it all the time, right? I got to do it too. But again, it's all part of the ecosystem that is worth billions. Why am I bringing this up? Okay, all right. It's the switch. All right. When people sit there and talk about, man, NIL, man, it's maybe bad for the sport. It may be this. Nah, you need to look at it totally different. Okay, that's what I get with the title. All right, NIL didn't necessarily build off this business. It all it did, it exposed the backside of what these youth sports is about. Okay, so instead of I'm not saying you're complaining, but I understand there's fees and everything and money getting involved in this. All right, but back in the day, you just put all this money up for training and all that with intention to try to get somewhat of a scholarship for your kid to go to college and play at the next level. But now with NIL, it's opened the door for you to essentially create and get some of that capital back. You're already paying and playing in this system. Let me say that again. You're already paying and playing in this ecosystem. The beauty of NIL is now, if you're doing it right, you get some of that capital back. And if not, if you're doing it extremely right, you will exceed, all right, and create some real income for your son or daughter in this whole ecosystem that we're in right now. So when I see this now, when I hear people complaining about fees, and I hear people, and again, I understand, and they talking about the money and all of that, because I just had a conversation yesterday, talking about on my side with training costs and all of that when it comes to my own daughter. But on the flip side, I have to see, listen, this opportunity, which it is, okay, you have to look at it like, I have to jump on this. I have to look at it different, not as man, these baseball this and man, there's so much this and that, instead of how do I get ahead of this? How do I not get left behind? That's how you need to be looking at this, all right? Because again, because of this big ecosystem and billions of dollars being shared on it, you can get your own piece of the pie. When I say you, meaning you as your son, you as your daughter, and the family over there can create some real income, all right, from the sports. Now, do you want to have some, people that's going to look at this, some old school coaches and people that's part of the baseball, realm, and look down on what I'm saying to this, all right? But they're the same ones that's eating off of this whole ecosystem too. They just, again, sometimes just an old school way of thinking, all right? I saw this coming years ago, and now we just kind of labeled it as the NIL, and I'm just we could complain about fees and all of that, but we could recoup this money back. Back in the day, we just try to say, well, let's get a return on investment by a scholarship or, from a school, and hopefully we get a piece of academic or athletic scholarship, and that's, we got our return on investment. Now you can get a return on investment on, a scholarship and make some serious income. I'm not going to go in about hey, you can make this and put all these numbers out there here and there, but, quick conversation I was having just the other day. I had a parent reach out, and we were just, chopping it up. I've known him for a while. And he was like, yo, D, my son has gotten an opportunity to, somebody we know is making some batting gloves, and, he wants to wear them. And, what can we do NIL wise for that? And I was like, listen, I don't know. It just depends on what it is. All right. But worst case scenario, it just may be just a product type thing where you just wear their product, promote it over there, but that's free batting gloves. Again, right? I sit here and talk about it behind the scenes, how much batting gloves cost. All right, some of them up to $100. I mean, some of y'all may be paying more. But think about that, all right? I know me, again, I'm going to talk about back in my day. I had one pair of batting gloves for the year, and it was $20, $30, all right? And I had holes in them by the end of the year. I had to ride out with them. Some of you parents over there going through batting gloves once a week. So think about that. All right? It ain't no capital. It ain't no nothing. It's just free product that you get to promote. And that's an expense that you save as a parent, because you just sitting there wearing these batting gloves and putting them, all right, and essentially marketing and promoting into your social media. All right. There ain't no real money involved, but it's saving you money. And that's the kind of conversations we were having with this. Again, small. All right, on a small scale, because there's plenty of people out here right now, young kids out here getting it ready, from batting gloves to bats to gloves, already doing it. That's like on a lower end scale. But these are the opportunities that's out here, because back in the day you couldn't do that. You couldn't make, you couldn't wear free. Well, you could wear a free product, but if you capitalize on it and make some money off of that, it was a no. These are the opportunities that's out here. I was blessed to have been connected over there at IMG, and there's this kid named Vassallo. He has this, I can't think of his YouTube right now. Dude was like, had so much subscribers and everything. I didn't know who he was and all of that, but some of the coaches over there would talk to me about like, yo, you know that kid, man, he's big time on YouTube over there. I was like, really? He's like, yeah. The kids would come in from all over the country, the world, and know who this kid is. And the kid at the time was like 13, 14, 15 years old. And like, it was kind of crazy to see how they were acting with this kid. Now, the kid is a good ball player. He's probably, I think, a sophomore, junior now. All right, potential D1 guy. But like to hear him and like to see how these kids are acting based off this kid's brand. Gear being sold. Notoriety. Deals getting hooked up over there between where he's going to school at. And what I loved about it, I know the dad and see him around and all of that. Dad always had a camera. They're to the point where they're making money. They're essentially, I don't want to talk their business over there, but that's their business. And the dad was over there with a camera, filming, getting just putting in content. Obviously, I don't know the whole background, how long they've been doing it, but they got a strong following. And you may be thinking like, oh man, that's cool, here and there, the kids know who he is and all that. But not only is he making income, but when I sit here and tell you that, okay, you may have some coaches that look down on, brands being built and all of that, but it's a lot of coaches over there that like a good kid that can play, but has a big following. That's free marketing for their school. So you got, the same level kid, the same level grades here and there, and there's a decision being made, but this kid got 40, 50,000 followers and they're active, and this guy has 2,000 or 3,000. Who you think they're going to go with? They're like, going to bring this kid in. All right, boom, he promotes it. We all do, they all do it. Like today, the kid that just committed to Florida Southern, he put his on his social media, no doubt, boom. So just imagine 50,000 people get to see him going to Florida Southern now instead of just, I don't know how many he has, whatever, but again, I use my own daughter, same thing. Imagine she had 50, 60, 70,000 watching her, put her banner up, all right, when she's going to SMU. Think of what the notoriety it does for that school. Think about how they're willing to do a lot for you. I was watching the Pivot, shout out to with Ryan Clark and all of them. I was watching them. They have Rutgers athletic director on there. I saw this the other day, and I was like, man, like this is crazy. Here's an AD talking like this. All right. Again, this is an AD, because I think sometimes we have this little feel of like, still like, I don't know, kids making money off their name. It's a little, I don't know. It still kind of feels, because it's so, I guess it ain't really new, but it's like, it's still murkiness to it. Right. But here's an AD, all right, at Rutgers talking, all right, on a podcast and says, yes, he's like, kids need to look at themselves as businesses. This is an AD talking at a school, all right? He said kids need to look at themselves as a business. He said if a kid could understand that, all right, he's ahead of the game, essentially. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he was saying. He said, we're here at Rutgers, we're trying to help market and help them make money off their names. We know that we got to bring kids in, and a lot of kids are coming with a lot of fanfare and meaning like a lot of following and making money on their name. So we got to make sure that we do our part to essentially create more opportunities and income for that particular family. Hello? This is an AD talking. And I know there's a lot of parents out here still over here like, well, I don't know if my son is good enough and I don't want to do the extra work. And I understand. Trust me, these are the conversations I'm having with my own brain sometimes and so, right? But I'm like, again, on one hand, you can't be mad and be mad at the system and, be mad at, man, these whatever, where you got an out now. Your out is like, yeah, you got to put a little extra work in, but if you do it right, there's some serious income that could be made. And I harped on this a little bit last conversation. I talk about, just think about the lessons. All right, that's what we do as parents, coaches, and all of that. We try to, give kids the lessons, teach them lessons in life that they can carry on forever, right? That's the beauty of sports, being coached, teammates, all right, dealing with adversity, injuries, and all of that, right? Those are all life lessons. Think about the entrepreneurial way of thinking that kid has to approach his business now. Think about that. Man, I got to go post XYZ many times over there. This company paid me XYZ. I got to go do this now, okay? I got to track how many followers, how many people, how many likes, how many comments I've got when I post this here. All right, this type of video got this, okay? Man, if I do this, man, I need to reach out to more businesses and see what. Think about the way this brain should be going. I don't care if you got millions in the bank or nothing in the bank. All right. And a friend of mine always said this, and I always said that too. I've been around. I've been around it. I ain't never met a dude making $25 million that don't want to make $26 million the next year. All right. Meaning, like, I ain't never met somebody that don't want to make more money. So, again, I don't want to. It's like even inside of me, I kind of feel a certain way of like talking about this, man, because I'm like, are they going to think like? And I'm just like, you can't. This is the nature of the business right now. Gone are the days of like paying your $50 little league fees, getting a t-shirt and a hat and sharing a bat and going out in the side fields or somewhere over there and 8, 9, 10-year-old and playing with some beat up sweatpants and cleats. All right, that was brought from Walmart or Value City or Price Chopper. All right, I'm talking about my days. All right, nah, man, these $300 gloves, $100 batting gloves, $500 bats. All right. Tournaments and beautiful. I don't care if you're 8, 9, 10 years old. Turf fields, okay. Hotels are expensive but nice. You know what I'm saying? Like it's an event when you play now. So again, why not understand where you are right now in this game? Take advantage of these opportunities over here. Take advantage of these opportunities. Just put a mind shift to it. All right. Again, some people get it, some people don't, and if you don't, you're going to get left behind. You do yourself again, and I'm saying this out of love. I promise you. I just had this conversation with my own daughter. Again, I always tell you. Again, I said I know you're going to college. And I said you step out of college without a brand and making some serious capital. I did something wrong. I did. She's going in a full ride. Don't have whatever money coming in from other collectives and all of that. That's cool. But I said, if you don't understand and build a brand, okay, from this opportunity that you have here, I did something wrong. I've been talking about this for years, so I'm passionate about it, and I love it now in the name of NIL. And I also think about, man, what could I have done? All right, and again, here I go talking back in my day, right? What could I have been, all right, when I was 7? And I tell my daughter, she roll her eyes, and I tell her that all the time. I'd be like, do you understand what the capabilities and what the possibilities would have been for me? And trust me, I was blessed out of high school getting drafted where I got drafted, okay? No doubt about it. But I'm talking about all the other opportunities out there, right? Oh my God. It's a lot of bags out there, people. Yeah, you got to put a little bit of work in all of that, all right? And there's a couple, I talked about Vassallo. There's one little kid came in. I remember he was a camper, and he got it. The parents got it. I didn't meet the parents, but shout out to them because they're doing it right. This kid was about 10, 11 years old. He had like a little nickname, Lil Swaggy or some, crazy little nickname or whatever, right? And he was a good player. And he was just bouncing around and all that, right? And I was like, who's this kid, right? And he had his phone, and here he is, 10, 11 years old, telling the other campers who don't even know who he is, say, hey, can you film me hitting, all right? And again, they're filming him, right, hitting and all of that. You think he wants to see how he's swinging. No, he wants to post it because I end up seeing, his IG page. Dude had like 30, 40,000 followers as a 10, 11-year-old. Every day he's posting him at the camp, walking in, interacting and whatever. I was just like, yo, his parents get it. His parents get it. 30, 40,000 at 10, 11 years old, all right, all right. The kid knows to tell the kid his he ain't even a teammate. He just met the kid at the camp. Said, "Here, can you film me?" and all of that. Hitting boom, boom, boom. The kid don't know that he think he filming because he gonna look back at his film. No, he filming that so he go post on his IG. Him swinging and be like, oh, swinging away, and well, and I just was like, yo. And he had a little swag to him, and he really did have some swag to him. I was like, yo, this dude gonna kill it. And I don't know where, this is probably 2 years, so he probably be about 13 now, 12, 13, maybe just entering 8th or 9th grade. Once he get in high school, again, he's a good player with a following, with a personality. He should kill it. He should kill it, if not already. It ain't, and we get caught up in the big names, the big big quarterbacks making millions and all of that. Nah, it's like, influencers, especially people that want to get just depending on the size of the business and all, like 10,000, 5,000. There's companies willing to pay at every level. I'll get deep into that. I just want to kind of make sure we're thinking correctly, because you're already paying into the system. I don't care if you're in a rec league, you're in USSSA. You in, whatever else leagues is out there, and then travel ball, these showcases you're going into, you're playing, you're going to these camps. I had a mom out there a couple years ago. She told me from the time recruiting started to by the time her kid committed, she spent $50,000 to $60,000 between camps, hotels, travel teams, and everything. $60,000 in a 2 to 3 year reign. I should say span. I was like, dang. And I was like, you really? She's like, yes. A kid is in a D1 program now. It worked. I helped them get there. Okay. But I'm just saying, flip that. Meaning, put some work in on the front end and all of that. Again, there's ways to be. It's out there for you, man. Okay. I will go into this even further, okay? I just want to understand, have this big picture, like brought in a little bit just to change your mindset and thinking, all right? If I get you thinking just a little bit, I've done my job, okay? I've done my job. Let me go into the flip side. I talk a little bit about recruiting. Right in wintertime right now, showcase season, a lot of showcases going on. Make sure you're hitting them up, all right? The big thing is right now, I had some of my guys make sure they're going to showcases and introducing themselves to these coaches. You know who you are, and you have to make sure you're getting seen somehow, some way. If you ain't that dude, and even that dude plays in front of showcases and team wise, okay? But sometimes you have to do stuff. Most of the time you have to do stuff individually, meaning it's cool to play with your team in the summer, your travel ball teams, and go to those showcases. And yes, all right, there's only a real handful already that really matter, okay? But it's cool to do that, but to get yourself out there, you got to do individually. You got to go and make sure you're going to the particular right schools, okay? Make sure you're in the right schools, not just randomly picking, okay? So this is that time. That's the tip for the day. Just make sure that you're going to the right showcases and being seen in front of the right people. You can't sit back. There's a couple of times I talk to parents and they're like, well, we just did this with our team and we just couldn't, get to this showcase and, whatever. And it's like, I get it. Like, your kid is really good, but if nobody's seeing them, all right, because it's, there's especially like the big tournaments, hundreds of teams. And if, depending on these coaches and all of that, they're just looking at certain teams and you just got to hope that you're playing against that particular team that these scouts and recruiters are watching, and you go off that day, then it benefits you. But then that's a lot of times that a lot of games are being played that you're not necessarily being seen. So you have to do the individual route, meaning like you got to go to some of these school camps that are going on this winter. Some of them are like, just defense and whatever, they got to make their money too, you know what I'm saying? But if you're good and all of that, the main thing is you hopefully get a follow-up from them. That's what you're hoping for. but at least they get to see you physically, see what you can do with the bat a little bit, defense, and again, just kind of get somewhat of a follow-up, get him, man, let me put this kid on our radar, or if he's already on the radar, and then we just kind of cross up the box and what I see. I know it's tough, man, all right? I know it's tough, but you know what I'm going to say to you? Get in the business side. If you're not actively, again, it all ties in. I'm to the point now, and again, listen, if you would have heard my conversation yesterday, I was complaining. All right, we're talking about my own daughter and travel, and we were talking about, all right, what we need to do and all that. I'm just like, man, Lord have mercy. When college start? But I can't complain. Because I know there's avenues and opportunities over there now, all right, that I'm in the middle jumping on and doing it too. So I can't complain. So my people that's out there listening, I understand, man, session is, I get it, economy, I get it, but there are opportunities out there for your son or daughter right now. It can't be, man, we can't do this and we're not getting there. We can't. No. All right. So what are you doing on the marketing side of things? Well, we don't really, it's hard. Again, get the ball rolling. One video turns to 2 videos to kind of keep the ball and just kind of grow this thing out. Somebody will see it. If you're college bound and I don't care if you, and again, I talked about this the other day too. You're in Fairbanks, Alaska somewhere, all right? I don't know, I just jumped out of my brain, all right? Fairbanks, Alaska. If you nice, if you going to the University of Alaska at Anchorage, you nice. There's some people that will follow you, that will essentially do what you're doing. There's other kids and parents and all that will follow and do certain things. If you're promoting the right things here and there, they will buy from you. They will buy from that company that says, hey, can you promote this for me and we'll make some money together. To do that. Way out in Fairbanks, Alaska. Money is money. Batting gloves, I just talked about it, right? He ain't making no money, but he's saving money. That's essentially $1,000 maybe. If it's $100 a pair of batting gloves and they go through 10, all right, that's $1,000. All right, you essentially made. It's out there. All right. I'm going to end this live, man, and I appreciate it, man. So I briefly talked about this, and I'm going to end it this way, all right? Hall of Fame time is here, all right? So I put a post up yesterday. Something happened with social media. I don't know. It's just me and my skill set, all right? We just got to get better, all right? I got my boy Caleb in the background helping me out today, thank God, all right? But the Hall of Fame is here. All right, guys are getting the calls. All right, shout out to my boy Andrew Jones, and really a big shout out to my guy Carlos Beltran. All right, I talked about this yesterday, and I just want to give him again some more love here. All right, I've known Carlos since 18. I haven't talked to him in years, so I don't, this is just showing, giving him his flowers here. I've known Carlos since I was 18. He got drafted the year before I did. One of the things is 3 things that, I really like being around him for about 6 to 8 years. Okay. I think it was 25, 26 when he got traded to the Houston Astros and had the biggest playoff, one of the biggest, he went off in the playoffs. All right. That was his eye-opening moment for everybody to see how good he was. But I saw this for years in Kansas City. The problem is he was in Kansas City. We weren't doing well, and it was just kind of being swept underneath the rug. And there was so many guys that used to sit there and tell me, like, yo, is he really that good? Friends of mine, good players. All right, if I name them, you'll know who they are. They'd be like, man, is he that good? I'm like, yo, dude is nice, man. He's nice. But he was playing in Kansas City, putting up numbers over there, and, basically nobody's seeing him. But there's 3 things that I remember about Carlos, man, that years later, I haven't been around him, haven't seen him. We messaged each other briefly on Facebook years ago, like 6, 7 years ago. Just what's up, what's going on, family, small talk, kept it moving, all right? But I would bring up his name. And one time, and I remember distinctly, just about 2019-20, I was talking to a very successful entrepreneur. And we were talking about discipline and business and stuff like that. And I brought up Carlos's name. All right. And one thing about me, I meet a lot of people over my lifetime. Everybody. All right. And I give respect to, certain people that do their thing and do it right. I show love where love is, is there and it's all good. All right. But there's very few people as a man that I'd be like, yo, he doing it right. If I say he doing it right, meaning like you on a whole nother level, because it's a personal thing that I got to see it. And that's who Carlos was. 3 things that I remember about him. All right. First thing was, when I first met him, like he walked in, and certain people have that aura, like, yo, he walked in very stoic and he was big league before he was big league. And I was like, yo, I thought I had swag. And I was like, this dude, I'm like, who's this dude? I was like, yeah, that's who, okay. And I was like, oh, wow. All right. He had that big league feel before he was even in the big leagues. We in A-ball, short season, short rookie ball. And he had that big league feel. All right, so that presence was there. Second, all right, again, now he's very personable. I see him out here smiling and talking and, whatever. He was fresh, fresh from Puerto Rico. It was a lot, I don't know. I would love to talk with him and just say, like, maybe he didn't trust his English, but now he's really good. He speaks really good English, all right? But back then, I don't know. I could be guessing, but he was always very stoic. You get a little smirk from him, he give you like this nod and all of that. He'll talk, but he was like poker-faced all the time. Coaches didn't kind of get a read on him, and I love that. I used to love it because he ain't give nobody no, whatever. You get a smile from him, you talk with up, what's up, D? You probably keep it moving. All right, short, that's it. All right, it's very few times we really got personal. You know what I'm saying? But it was like it was just business with him. It was strictly business with him. And, I look back and I said, it ain't the loudest one in the room and all of that. It's the one sitting in the back just observing everything, man. Just crazy quiet over there, like just dissecting the room. He was always like that. So he had that presence, all right, and he had that focus. And the last thing I remember is the discipline aspect of it. What I loved about him, we used to always say this as teammates, like, again, we always be like, man, it's not, again, it wasn't like the main conversation. Because Carlos was, always like, he was, part of the team, no doubt about it. But it was like, he wasn't going to go over and beyond besides, you come in 2 o'clock and leave at 10, 11 o'clock at the game. That's it. You ain't going to see him too much after. But I remember we used to always say, like, all he cares about, man, is ball and his family. And his wife, Jennifer, all right? I remember when they started dating and now they been married, I don't know how many years now, okay? But that's all, that we used to say, like, that's all he cares about. All right? And he had this little monkey too. He may see this and all that. Yeah, he used to have this little monkey jumping around the locker room. You don't think I forgot about that. All right, but that was it. That's all he cared about. Locker room over there, watch in the face in the Bible. Over there, it's again, success leaves clues, man. So I just want to give a little shout out. Congratulations to my boy Beltran. All right, he was always disciplined, had that presence and focused, man. And I seen it firsthand. It was only 2 players I used to say, man, that I can take over a game. I play A-Rod, Manny, all these dudes are great players. Big Hurt, like, again, great players. Griff, these are awesome players. But when I say that can take over a game with every aspect of it, from base running to defense and hitting from both sides, Beltran and Roberto Alomar. That's the only 2 players that I personally seen. Now, Beltran I played with. Roberto, I used to, when he was the Indians, play against him all the time. I used to see him just do stuff all the time. Then I was like, yo, he single-handedly won that game. 1 or 2 defensive plays, all right? Big hits with the game, boom, boom, boom. Like, he won the game. Carlos, I think it was a record. I don't know, because back then it was, all right? He stole like 30-something bags, and I never seen it in the major league. I haven't seen it since. All right, playing with him 1 year. I never seen a major leaguer steal bases standing up. Still bases standing up, meaning like his jumps are so good, he read the pitcher and he would stand up and be like standing on second base as the catcher's throwing and he's already on second base. In the major leagues, you don't see that. I seen it with my own eyes multiple times in 1 year. I was like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how good and instinctive he was. Anyway, shout out to my boy Beltran. I'm happy for him, man. Shout out to the family, the Beltran family, man. HOFs, man. All right. That's my time, man. Be back next week. All I ask is that, again, especially when we talk on this NIL, share it. If you feel like another parent and kid will get something from this, share it. I don't care if you're business owners or, players, parents, all right? Reach out to me on the side. But if you want, just all I ask is that we're going to keep this conversation. We're just scratching the surface with this, okay? But I ask that you follow me. We keep this ball rolling, okay? See you next week, all right? Peace and love, y'all.